Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Shevuot. We are up to Perek Gimel Mishna Yud. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'ilui Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Ranbayev Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov Chana bad Miriam Sason ben Ryan Yoshua ben Shifra Menuchatam Began Eden Amen. And Le'avdil ben Chaim Lechaim v'derefua Shenemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa B'tor Shachulei Yisrael and Achlama Merav Binyamin Od Zion Chai ben Dvorah. This Mishnah lists the people to whom the oath of declaration applies and the circumstances in which it applies. Shevuot bitui noeget ba'anashim uvnashim. The law of the oath of declaration applies to both men and women. Birchokim uvikrovim, to oaths concerning both non-relatives and relatives. For example, if a person swore to give something to someone, he is required to fulfill his oath whether the person he named was related to him or not. Bichsharim ubipsulin, to people who are generally qualified to testify in court, and to those who are disqualified from testifying. Now, all three of these laws are actually obvious. The Mishnah states them only to contrast the oath of declaration with the Shevuot Edut, oath of testimony, taught in the next chapter, in chapter 4, Mishnah 1. That oath, which is made in response to a request for testimony, does not apply to women, relatives, and all those who are not qualified to testify. Bifnei bedin v'shelo bifnei bedin. The law of the oath of declaration applies to oaths made in court or out of court. The oath of declaration is a personal oath, not a court procedure. It therefore makes no difference whether it is made in court or out of court. Mipi atzmo, provided that the oath comes from his own mouth and is not imposed on him from the mouths of others. We will learn in the next chapter, B'ezrat Hashem b'li neder, that an oath of testimony can be imposed on witnesses by someone else. The same is true for a Shevuot, a Pikadon, oath of deposit. An oath of declaration, however, cannot be imposed by others. So if someone wanted to know whether he ate or not, and the person said to him, I impose an oath upon you that you ate or did not eat, and he responded falsely, I indeed ate or did not eat, he is not guilty of violating an oath because he never personally said that he was swearing that his statement was true. Having stated when the laws of the oath of declaration apply, the Mishnah states its punishment. A person is liable to lashes for intentionally violating it, and to a variable chatat offering for violating it unintentionally. This was already stated above in Mishnah 7. The Mishnah repeats it here to make it clear that all of the people mentioned are Mishnah subject not only to the oath, but to the penalties as well. And that is the end of Mishnah Yud. Mishnah Yud Aleph, the final Mishnah of this chapter, teaches to whom and in what circumstances the vain oath applies. The rules that will be stated here for the vain oath are identical to those taught in the previous Mishnah for the oath of declaration. Shevuot shav noeget ba'anashim uvnashim. The law of the vain oath applies to both men and women. Birchokim uvikrovim, to oaths concerning both non-relatives and relatives. For example, if a person swore that a certain man was a woman, it is a vain oath whether the man he named was related to him or not. Bichsharim ubipsulim, to people who are generally qualified to testify in court, and to those who are disqualified from testifying. Bifnei bedin v'shelo bifnei bedin, and to oaths made in court or out of court. Mipi atzmo, provided that the oath comes from his own mouth and is not imposed on him from the mouths of others. Like the oath of declaration, a vain oath cannot be imposed on a person by others. So if someone says to a person, I impose an oath upon you that a certain man is a woman, and he responded, indeed that man is a woman, without actually swearing to it himself, he is not subject to the penalty for making a vain oath because he did not personally make the oath. Now, having stated when the laws of the vain oath apply, the Mishnah states its punishment. A person is liable to lashes for intentionally violating the prohibition to make a vain oath, but he is completely exempt for unintentionally violating it. The Torah does not require an offering for the unintentional violation of a vain oath, as it does for the unintentional violation of an oath of declaration. Although we learned that a person is not liable for a vain oath or an oath of declaration imposed by others, there is a certain type of imposed oath that is an exception. In the case of both the vain oath and the oath of declaration, if the oath was imposed upon him by others, the person is liable for punishment, but only in the circumstance the Mishnah will now state. Ketzad, how so? Amar lo achalti hayom v'lo enachti tefillin hayom. If he said, I did not eat today, or I did not put on tefillin today, but his statements were not expressed as an oath, Mashbiachani v'amar amen. And then someone said to him, I impose your statement upon you as an oath. And he responded, amen. Chayav, he is liable to malkut or an offering, depending on whether he violated the oath intentionally or unintentionally, because saying amen to an oath is like saying the oath himself, as the Gemara explains on page 29b in Masechet Shevuot. Now this is because the word amen means true. By saying it, the person is affirming whatever statement he is responding to, and although the Mishnah's examples are both oaths of declaration, the same is true for vain oaths. And that is in Rabotai today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.